Jonathan Ogden was more than just a player for the Ravens. He was the first great idol in the team's history, and what he did in Baltimore changed everything. Did you know that he was the one responsible for putting the franchise on a new level of respect in the NFL? But how did he do that? And what does he represent to the Ravens even today? In today's video, we'll reveal how Ogden not only built an unbeatable legacy, but also how he was a foundation for everything the Ravens are today. Stay with me until the end to understand how the impact of this giant still resonates in Baltimore's victories. Go Ravens! Imagine you're starting a team from scratch. You need a key piece, someone who not only plays well, but who will be the foundation of everything that will be built. That's exactly what the Ravens faced in 1996 when they entered the NFL. The franchise needed a name that would represent a new era and bring credibility from day one. With the 4th overall pick in the draft, Baltimore bet on a giant named Jonathan Ogden, an offensive tackle from UCLA who had everything to be special. At the time, many expected the Ravens to pick a more flashy player, maybe a quarterback or an explosive defender. But choosing Ogden showed that Baltimore wanted to build a team from the inside out. In a league where quarterback protection and dominance in the trenches make all the difference, the Ravens decided to start their history with a player who could change the game on offense, even without the ball in his hands. Ogden arrived in Baltimore standing 6 feet 9 inches tall and weighing over 330 pounds. But his greatness went far beyond his size. He was agile, technical, and extremely intelligent, rare traits for an offensive lineman. From the first practice, it was clear that he was on a whole different level. If the Ravens were looking for a leader to set the standard of excellence for the franchise, they had found the right guy. Ogden's impact was immediate. In his first season, he already showed that he could dominate any defender who came his way. His blocking was so precise that Baltimore's running backs started to take advantage of it, gaining more yards than expected. And the best part? He was just getting started. What the Ravens didn't know at the time was that they had just selected one of the greatest players in the history of the position. Over the years, many teams regret their draft picks, but this wasn't one of them. Ogden became the first great name in Ravens history, a player who brought credibility to the team from the first snap. While other franchises took time to find their stars, Baltimore already had a solid pillar to build its future. But Ogden wasn't just an important name on paper. On the field, he did things that few offensive linemen could. His impeccable technique and understanding of the game made him a nightmare for any defender trying to beat him. If the Ravens had a player like him, it was because they were ready to compete from the start. And that's exactly what happened. From the moment Jonathan Ogden stepped on the field, the Ravens began to change their destiny. But a great player isn't just about talent. It's about impact. And in the next step of his journey, he proved that he could be dominant from day one. Not every player enters the NFL ready to shine. Many need time to adapt, gain experience, and understand how the game works at the professional level. But Jonathan Ogden was not an ordinary player. From the very first moment he stepped on the field, it was clear that he was on a different level. His size and strength already caught attention. But what really amazed everyone was his refined technique and football intelligence. He knew exactly where to position himself, how to neutralize defenders, and ensure that his quarterback had enough time to throw the ball. The top defensive ends in the league quickly realized that facing Ogden wouldn't be easy. Many offensive linemen rely only on brute strength to win their battles, but Ogden did it with mastery and control. He didn't just block his opponents. He completely shut them down. Try to overpower him? Ogden was stronger. Try to use speed? He was agile enough to keep up with any move. No matter what the defender did, Ogden always seemed to have an answer ready. Right from his first season, he was already showing signs that he would be one of the greats at his position. Typically, rookies make mistakes, struggle to keep up with the pace of the league, and take time to stand out. With Ogden, it was different. Not only did he adapt quickly, but he also raised the level of the entire Ravens offensive line. The impact he had on the team was huge and immediate, bringing a new confidence to the offense. Moreover, his versatility was impressive. Although he was drafted as a left tackle, Ogden played his first season as a left guard, a position different from the one he would dominate in the following years. Even outside of his natural position, He continued to destroy opponents and pave the way for Baltimore's ground game. This adaptability only reinforced how special he was. Offensive linemen don't always get the recognition they deserve. While quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers grab the spotlight, linemen do the dirty work, making sure the stars shine. But Ogden was different. Not only did he protect the quarterback and open lanes for the running game, but he was also a true leader on the field. He commanded respect and showed that the Ravens' offensive line would be one of the most feared in the league. Ogden's impact was so great that, even in the early years of the franchise, the Ravens already had a clear offensive reference. He was the anchor of the team, the player who provided the stability needed for the offense to function. Few tackles in NFL history entered the league and were dominant as quickly as he was. And this was just the beginning. If Ogden was already a monster early in his career, imagine what happened when he had the chance to protect a championship team. In the year 2000, he would become a key piece in one of the greatest moments in Ravens history. And can you imagine the impact Jonathan Ogden had when he first arrived with the Ravens? Drop a comment if you also realize how a player can transform a team from day one, or if you remember another case where a young talent completely changed the course of a franchise. Let's talk about it in the comments. Every championship team has its stars, those players who make the difference in crucial moments. In Super Bowl 35, the Ravens were defined by a historic defense, but behind every big offensive play, there was one constant: Jonathan Ogden making sure everything worked. While the defense suffocated the opponents, the offense needed stability to control the clock and move down the field. And no one did that better than Ogden, who dominated the line of scrimmage with an almost frightening ease. The 2000 Super Bowl was a lesson in how a team can be dominant on both sides of the ball. While the Ravens' defense crushed any hope for the New York Giants, the offense simply needed to be efficient and avoid mistakes. That's where Ogden's importance came in. With him protecting the offensive line, the Ravens' quarterbacks had time to make safe decisions, and the running backs found gaps to gain crucial yards. In the most important game in the franchise's history at that point, Ogden did exactly what was expected from one of the NFL's greatest left tackles. He neutralized any threat. His strength and technique ensured that Baltimore's offensive plan worked, allowing Jamal Lewis to have one of the best performances of the game. The running back ran for over 100 yards and scored a touchdown, thanks to Ogden's flawless blocks. Ogden's physical dominance was so impressive that, at various points in the game, the Giants' defenders simply couldn't break through the offensive line. It was as if they were running into an impenetrable wall. He commanded respect on every play, showing why he was already considered one of the best in the position, even with just a few years of career experience. Beyond his performance on the field, Ogden was a quiet leader, the type who spoke little but did much. He didn't need to shout or get emotional to make his presence felt. His play spoke for itself. In the Super Bowl, his demeanor was that of a true champion, absolute focus, discipline, and flawless execution on every play. He knew that a title would forever change the history of the Ravens, and he wouldn't allow anything to go wrong. When the clock hit 0 and the Ravens were crowned champions for the first time, the defense received all the spotlight, and rightly so. But in the locker room, among the players and coaches, everyone knew Ogden's value in that victory. Without him, nothing would have been so smooth. His presence on the offensive line was a guarantee that the Ravens had a solid foundation to build a winning team. And this victory was not just a title. It cemented Ogden as one of the franchise's cornerstones and showed that he wasn't just a great player, but one of the best in the history of the position. What came next? A legacy that would place him among the greatest in NFL history. Being a good player in the NFL is tough. Becoming one of the best at your position is for the few. But dominating an entire generation? That's for legends. Jonathan Ogden wasn't just an excellent left tackle. He was the best of his time. While other players fought for space and recognition, Ogden simply left his mark in every game, annihilating defenders with his impeccable technique and his ridiculous physique. Year after year, he was a fortress on the Ravens' offensive line. If the opponent put their best pass rusher to try to beat Ogden, the chances of success were minimal. He had the perfect balance of strength and agility, making it almost impossible to defeat him. If they tried to push him back, They were hitting an impenetrable wall. If they bet on speed to get around him, he was quick enough to react and shut down any move. Ogden's consistency was extraordinary. He didn't just have good games. He dominated season after season. His performance was so solid that between 1997 and 2007, he was elected to 11 consecutive Pro Bowls, something few players manage in any position. He was also named to the All-Pro team multiple times, being recognized as the best left tackle in the NFL. But stats and awards only tell part of the story. The true impact of Ogden was seen on the field, where he made a job that's one of the most difficult in football look easy. Not only did he protect the quarterback and open up space for running backs, but he also commanded respect, shaped the game, and set a standard that few could reach. Quarterbacks trusted more when Ogden was to their left. Running backs knew that if they ran behind him, they'd have a smoother path. Coaches built offensive plans counting on his presence. Few players in history were as central to a team's success as Ogden was to the Ravens. Even with all the physical challenges an offensive lineman faces, he maintained a very high level until the end of his career. His longevity at the elite level was remarkable. While many players experience a drop in performance over time, Ogden kept his dominance until his last game. He retired without ever having a bad season, something few in the NFL can say. And when a player reaches this level, their name becomes eternal. Ogden wasn't just a great Raven. He was becoming a symbol of the franchise, and Baltimore knew that he deserved more than just respect. His legacy needed to be immortalized. Well, we're heading into the fifth topic. But before we continue, I notice you haven't left a like on this video yet. It's really important so YouTube can continue to recommend my content to you, and I'll keep bringing you the best Baltimore Ravens content. So go ahead, hit that like button. It's free. Thanks a lot. Now let's continue. There are great players, there are legends, and above all of them, there are the immortals in the Hall of Fame. For a young team like the Ravens, seeing one of their own players reach that level was more than an individual recognition. It was confirmation that the franchise already had a history worth remembering. And who better to be the first Raven to enter Canton than Jonathan Ogden? He not only represented the team's excellence on the field, but also carried the weight of being the franchise's first major reference. When his retirement was announced in 2008, there was no doubt that Ogden was destined for the Hall of Fame. He dominated his position for over a decade, was a pillar of the Ravens' offensive line, and helped the franchise win its first Super Bowl. The recognition came quickly, and in 2013, on his first opportunity, he was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Baltimore, which already saw him as a legend, now saw his name engraved in NFL history forever. The induction ceremony was a special moment. Ogden took the stage in Canton, Ohio, wearing the traditional gold jacket, and delivered a speech that moved fans, former teammates, and coaches. He spoke about the pride of having represented Baltimore, the impact the team had on his life, and how he always gave everything he had for the Ravens. His calm voice and reserved demeanor contrasted with the monster he was on the field, but everyone knew that was one of the greatest to ever play football. Being the first Raven in the Hall of Fame meant much more than an individual award. It showed that the franchise, even with its short history, had already produced talent worthy of eternal recognition. Ogden paved the way for other great names from Baltimore to reach Canton in the future, solidifying the team among the most respected franchises in the NFL. Ogden's importance to the Ravens' identity cannot be overstated. He was the first draft pick in the team's history, the first great idol, the first Super Bowl champion, and now, the first in the Hall of Fame. Each of his accomplishments marked a milestone in the evolution of the franchise. His place among the greatest in the NFL showed that the Ravens were not just a growing team, but a consolidated powerhouse. His achievements were immortalized not only in Canton, but also in Baltimore. No other Ravens player would wear number 75 again, retired in his honor. His legacy was guaranteed, and his name would always be linked to the greatness of the franchise. Ogden was not just an important player for the Ravens. He was, and always will be, a symbol of the team's identity. And every legend needs to be recognized at home. Baltimore didn't just celebrate Ogden in the Hall of Fame. They made sure to give him the greatest recognition within the franchise. On a team full of great players over the years, few are privileged enough to have their number immortalized. Jonathan Ogden was not just an icon for the Ravens. He was the first great name in the franchise. That's why, when Baltimore decided to retire number 75, it was more than a tribute. It was a recognition that no other player could wear that number with the same greatness. When a number is retired, it means it will never be worn by another athlete on the team. It's an honor reserved for those who made an unforgettable mark in the team's history, and there was no doubt that Ogden deserved this honor. He wasn't just the franchise's first draft pick, but he also helped shape the Ravens' identity on the field, leading the offensive line for over a decade and being a key part of the team's first championship. The retirement ceremony for number 75 took place at M&T Bank Stadium, in front of the fans who had followed him from the very beginning. It was impossible not to feel the weight of that moment. Ogden, who always let his game speak for him, was now receiving one of the greatest honors an athlete can have. His name and number would forever be part of the team's history, a symbol of dedication, talent, and leadership. Ogden's importance went beyond what he did on the field. He set a standard for all players who came after him. His work ethic, his demeanor, and his loyalty to the team showed what it meant to be a true Raven. Every time someone enters a franchise and sees number 75 retired, they immediately understand that Ogden was a special player, someone who helped shape the team's DNA. For the fans, this tribute was more than deserved. Ogden was one of those players who made a difference from the first day to the last snap of his career. He was dominant in his position like few in NFL history, and his presence on the Ravens' offensive line was a guarantee of safety and strength. There was no more fitting way to ensure that no other player would wear his number again. Even after his retirement, his impact on the Ravens never disappeared. He remained involved with the franchise, serving as a reference for new players and representing the team at NFL events. His presence always commanded respect and reminded everyone why he was one of the greatest to ever wear the purple and black jersey. But while number 75 was already immortalized in Baltimore, there was still one final recognition that would place Ogden at the top of the franchise's history. His legacy needed a definitive place within the Ravens. And if you made it this far, drop a comment saying Jonathan Ogden, eternal legend of the Ravens. So I know you value the history he built with Baltimore and the NFL. Continuing, Jonathan Ogden was not just a great football player. He was a true founder of the Ravens' identity. His career was marked by excellence on the field, but his impact goes far beyond statistics. He set a standard of professionalism and commitment that influenced generations of players to follow. His approach to work, his respect for the game and the franchise, and his quiet yet firm leadership made him an example for everyone around him. When you think of Ogden, you think of stability and dominance. He was the first pillar of an offensive line that, over the years, continued to be one of the most respected in the NFL. However, his legacy wasn't built only on blocking plays or Super Bowl victories. He was instrumental in creating a winning culture for the Ravens, being the first to show rookies what it meant to be part of this franchise. Ogden was also a mentor. Many players throughout his career, especially the linemen, looked up to him as a reference. He knew how to shape talent and guide them to follow the same successful path he walked. When he retired, the impact of his leadership was clear. The Ravens not only had talented players, but also a winning mentality that had been forged by Ogden over the years. In addition to his contributions on the field, Ogden also played a significant role off of it. He became involved in various philanthropic causes and was an example of how an athlete can positively impact their community. His career wasn't just about titles or awards, but also about how he used his position to make a difference in the lives of those around him. Ogden's legacy is partly reflected in how the Ravens franchise is viewed today. When a player like him enters history, he carries the essence of the team, shaping the image of an organization committed to excellence. He was more than just a tackle. He was the archetype of a Raven, with the strength, discipline, and foresight that any new player on the team should strive for. Ogden will not only be remembered for the plays he made, but for how he represented the Ravens, for everything he did to build the winning culture of the franchise. His name will forever be associated with the greatness of Baltimore, and his legacy will continue to live in the hearts of fans for many generations. The Hall of Fame and his retired jersey are only part of Ogden's immortality. He is, and will always be, one of the greatest to ever wear the purple and black jersey. Now, With everything we've discussed, it's clear. Jonathan Ogden was not only the first great idol of the Ravens, but also an NFL legend whose impact transcends decades. His presence in the Ravens is a trademark of success, respect, and leadership. The future of the franchise was shaped by him, and his story is one of the most important for the team. The real question is, which player of the current generation will be able to follow in his footsteps and create a legacy on par with Ogden's? Now, with everything we've discussed, it's clear. Jonathan Ogden was not only the first great idol of the Ravens, but an NFL legend who shaped the franchise's future and became a symbol of excellence, strength, and leadership. He was a foundation of an unbeatable offensive line and helped transform Baltimore into a powerhouse in the league. His importance goes far beyond titles and statistics. Ogden is an eternal reference for the Ravens. The real question is, which player of the current generation will be able to follow in his footsteps and create a legacy equal to Ogden's? If you also believe that Ogden was a key piece in building the Ravens' legacy, share your opinion in the comments and show how essential he is to the team. We cannot let the legacy of our history be forgotten.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself. See you there, and until the next video, go Flock.